He's defeated every champion from every organization the sport of mixed martial arts has ever seen and retired from the octagon as the biggest draw and the industry's highest paid athlete of all time. And now Chael Sonnen's on podcast1.com. And for that, you're welcome.
Hey guys, do me a favor. Help this podcast remain free to download with minimal ads. Responses will help us align the appropriate advertisers to this audience. The survey is short and completely anonymous. It takes no more than 5 minutes. There's two ways to do it. Either go to podcast1.com/mysurvey or go to podcast1.com and click on the survey banner. If you've filled out the survey in the past, we appreciate it, but we still need you to do it again. Do it right now, please, and thank you for supporting this program and taking the time to complete the survey. All right. What's happening, guys? Happy Thursday, everybody. Hey, let's get right into this. I meant to bring this up yesterday. We ran out of time. Celebrity Apprentice has come to an end. Matt Eisen won. It came down to him and Boy George in the finals. And so now, Joel, for the first time, we can talk about anything. We can reveal anything, talk about anything. The show is done. The gag order is released. I'll tell you this. So here's how this all worked. We stayed at a hotel in Marina Del Rey, and when the show started, they would not tell us anything. We knew a lot about the rules and stuff because you'd watched other seasons, but they told us nothing, including who the fellow castmates were. And they brought us to the very bottom, the basement of the hotel where there was a bar. They had a social the night before filming started on Monday. So this would be a Sunday night. We all go in, and that's where everybody walks in, and you're introduced to the rest of the cast. When I got done, I go back upstairs to the room, and Miss Brittany asked me, what'd you think? And I said, well, we got a problem. And she says, what's that? And I said, his name's Matt Eisen. Matt was a Princeton graduate. He went on and got an MD. He walked away from it all to go to Hollywood and try his hand at stand-up, where he made it, and is now the host of American Ninja Warrior. So the guy on paper is brilliant. He's also handsome. He's also charming and charismatic. He's also nice. He's a nice guy. And I just knew, look, we're all playing for second. As soon as you go around the room, you're looking at the drunks in the room. You're looking at the crackheads in the room. You're looking at a bunch of idiots. But you're also sizing up who the players are. And I knew right away, this guy's a problem. We need to chop his head off. This guy needs to be set up right out of the gate and sent home before he builds momentum, or he's going to win the show. And, he asked me, he and I became pretty good friends. He asked me, hey, what's your strategy in this thing? And I told him, my number one strategy right now is to get rid of you. And he laughed, and he said, yeah, I kind of figured that. And I said, yeah, man, you seem to me to be the real deal. Might as well get rid of you sooner than later. It's a game, and he understood that. And everybody there had a strategy. Ricky Williams had one, Layla had one, Lisa had one, I had one. Everybody had a strategy, and you kind of talk to each other and learn what people's strategies are. Matt also had a strategy, but his strategy was to work really hard and win every task. He was a guy, though, that could come in without a character or a gimmick and just be himself. He was that skilled. He was just that good, of a leader, of a follower, of a task manager, of an organizer. He had high energy. He was up early. He was in bed late, and he really wanted to win. He really felt it in his belly. He knew, hey, this is my opportunity. And as great as he's done, from getting the degree from Princeton, going on becoming an MD, trying his hand at stand-up and making it, and getting all the way to being on the desk for American Ninja Warrior, he was the least known guy in this process, and he really needed this, but he also really wanted it. And whatever served to his motivation, who gives a damn? The bottom line is he had it, and he was absolutely the right pick. I had a day where I was going to chop his head off. My plan had come to fruition, and Matt is going home, and Matt was so good I couldn't do it. And I'm a competitor. I'll chop a guy's head off. That's what the game is, right? I couldn't do it. We got in the boardroom, and it was just a matter of, listen, this guy delivered. He was honest. He was trustworthy. He was there for the betterment of the team, which benefits himself. I'm going to have to get him tomorrow or next week or the next time, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. He was that valuable. He was that special of a talent. And when it came down to the finals, particularly when you understand that he is the least known guy, you would get better traction saying Boy George won it. Put that on the press releases, put that recognizable face out there. I thought there could be some politics that came into play. I was very happy and refreshed to see that there weren't. It went to the right guy.
Let me ask you a question. Would you do that again?
It was so much fun. It was absolutely so much fun. You know, when you think of the games that you've played in your life, games that you had a great time, most of them were free. Most of them, you'll go back to your childhood and think of a game of tag that you and some friends went outside and played. Or, a game of hide and seek inside. How much fun. Remember hide and seek? How much fun was that? These games were free. As you become an adult, you start to play games that cost a little more money. Maybe you pick up a game of golf, or you belong to a basketball or a volleyball group or a softball team in your neighborhood. You start, you throw a few bucks down and you play. Think of all the fun times you had.
You know how I played hide and seek when I was a kid?
Tell me.
I'd leave my house and go hide in somebody else's house that had heat.
Would they ever find you?
Yeah, then they'd send me back to the place with no heat.
So anyway, you think about the fun that you had playing some of those games. This game cost $10 million to play. So, you asked me would I do it again? Well, yeah, you have to. You can't go out and duplicate that anywhere else in the world. It's a $10 million production, and it's a game. So, yeah, it was completely fun. I love the strategies. I love the ins and outs. I love to look back when things were done and go, oh, could have done this, should have done that. And that's everything in life. And when you enjoy something, that's when you think about what would have I done different. If you didn't enjoy something, you don't care. You don't care if I would have done it different. I thought it was a ton of fun. And, yeah, man, the answer is yes.
Do you know how I played tag when I was a kid?
No, how?
I'd go to somebody's house that had food, and I'd sit down at their table and say, tag, feed me.
And did they?
It's a joke.
It's not funny.
I think it is.
Really?
Yeah. He laughed. Jacob laughed. There's two people in here, and one of them laughed.
I just didn't get it.
So there was 1 million people in the crowd. 500,000 people would have laughed at my joke.
I mean, I think the delivery was okay at best, and the material just wasn't there. So what do you do? I'm getting the feeling as I'm talking about Celebrity Apprentice, though, I'm getting the feeling that you didn't watch the show because you're not really giving me much feedback. I'm telling you, now's your time. Ask me anything, I'll tell you. And you're standing there telling made-up stories about tag and hide and seek. So you didn't watch the show?
No. I watched 3 episodes.
All right, fair enough. I'll tell you, it was not the ratings boom that they wanted it to be, but it was far from a failure. For example, the smallest show that they did was a 4.9. The highest show that they did was a 5.3. Anywhere around that 5 million mark, you've got a marketable product. And so I think that it will move forward. I think that it will live on. The one problem you have with doing Celebrity Apprentice is it isn't real. And by that, what I mean is when The Apprentice started, they didn't bring in celebrities. Nobody knew who it was they were watching. However, there was a compelling storyline that this actually is a job interview. If you win this, you are getting a contract. You are going to Trump Tower. You will be put on assignment. You will be mentored by Donald Trump, and it was real. In this, it was very clear that it was for fun. It was a ratings boost, and I think that takes away from it. I've always had that same complaint with The Ultimate Fighter. You go into The Ultimate Fighter, product that you and I both enjoy, but the one problem they have, and I only think they have one, but the one problem they have, they put you in teams right out of the gate, but it's not real. If one team starts cleaning up the other team and now you don't have workout partners and these other, they just switch guys. They just throw a new jersey on them and stick them over there. So, and then one guy's left standing even if you got to fight each other. So there isn't really teams. And I don't know how to get around that. I don't know what you do unless you want to just go, look, there are no teams. Here's the workout times. Come in and do it, but here's the bracket. Because what it is a bracketed tournament where one guy's left standing. If one guy's left standing, then the team concept is out the window right from the very beginning. So I think that is an important element to have, but sometimes whether you're talking tough or you're talking Celebrity Apprentice, sometimes you just can't do both. You can't bring in those guys, have a team atmosphere, and really have it be a team when one person is left standing. So I think that might have hurt just slightly. The fact that Trump was actually hiring and all Schwarzenegger was able to do was fire. I think maybe he got put at a little bit of a disadvantage there. I think that's a fair assessment by me.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking...
Man, you got to stop with that. You keep saying, let me ask you a question. It's like you're either buying yourself time or you don't realize that's what we're doing here. Just go back and forth.
Do what?
What's the question?
What'd you say?
Go ahead.
What did you say?
Right.
I don't understand what you said. What is your question?
Okay.
See what I did there?
Yes.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
It took me a moment. Yeah, I got over them. What's the question?
Okay, so we're talking about something that I didn't watch, but it's entertainment. Why would I watch it after you got whacked? You know, I did watch one show. It was funny. The ratings went down. We spoke on it. But I had an opportunity this weekend to go to John Wick 2, and it sucked. It sucked, and now the Coen brothers are talking about making a remake of Scarface.
Did the Coen brothers make John Wick 2? Is that the tie-in there?
No, the tie-in is a sequel.
You know, I went and saw Jack Reacher. I didn't go and see it. I saw Jack Reacher in the theaters. Liked it a lot. My father and I talked about it. Tom Cruise is over with us. We like him as an action. I just caught part 2. In fact, when I was out in the hotel getting ready for my last fight, I caught Jack Reacher 2, and I was pretty excited when I saw it pop up in the hotel charge. It was $18, $17.99, which for a movie is a little bit ridiculous. But at any rate, this was rotten garbage, man. It was like they didn't even try. I can't believe if Tom Cruise had any editing rights that he didn't just go, look, scrap it. I don't care if we lose $20 million. I'm not putting my name on it. It was that level of bad. Everything you could say about it, from the plot, the storyline, the way it was filmed, the directing of it, the way that they cut different frames. This was a bad movie. I thought Tom Cruise did his part. He had absolutely no supporting cast. There was nobody you could recognize in that entire thing but Tom Cruise. They casted all the wrong people, man. I mean, Tom Cruise, I really thought should have looked at that and just said, you know what, I'll take the hit, whatever we've done here. This was a miss. It hurt his brand. It was bad. It
had to be bad because I didn't even know they made a part 2. But my question is, Scarface is a classic. What do they do with a classic? I mean, whatever wins? What sequel ever wins with a classic?
Yeah, it's very hard to do, and I would suspect that it would bomb as well, but I do think if you can attach your name and call it Scarface, that you go run anything you can. You know, I thought the A-Team that Rampage was in was very well made. However, if you followed the A-Team, that wasn't it. I mean, that was absolutely not the message of the A-Team. So sometimes that stuff works. It did good box office. I thought it was a solid film, but as far as reproducing something like that, it's hard to do. And there's some movies out there that are just crap, but they're fun to watch. Charles Bronson comes to mind. Do you remember the Death Wish? I think they made 4 or 5 Death Wishes. I mean, these are amongst the worst movies ever made, but at the same time, they're good. They're classics. There's something there to watch. As bad as they were, there was something there. You take this Jack Reacher, man, it was just a bad movie, period.
Now, you talk about being an A-Team fan when you were a little kid. How'd you watch that? You were at wrestling practice every single day forever.
More importantly than that, I had to go to bed at 7 o'clock. That was my bedtime for a meaningful period of time. And it didn't matter what time of year was it. So if you're in summertime out here in Oregon, it's bright light until 10 p.m.
What are you talking about, 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock. I'd have to go to bed with bright sunshine coming through the window. A-Team came on at 8 p.m. I loved it, and my mom would not budge, and my dad wanted my mom to budge. So my dad went out to get a VCR so that he could tape this for me so I could watch it prior to 7 p.m., but a VCR was $200. And so he was trying to find used ones, and he was going around, he was asking people, do you know where I can get a VCR? And he finally saved up, and he got a VCR just so that I could watch the A-Team, which was a pretty cool move. Pretty cool move by him.
That's a good story.
But yeah, I was a big A-Team fan. I mean, that was just a great show, period. But you had B.A. Baracus. You know, how cool was B.A.? I would come home from school, and I was in kindergarten at the time. The second I would get home from school, my mom would put bobby pins in my hair to make a mohawk so that I could run around, and then I'd put on her jewelry and stuff and think that I was B.A. Baracus. So that, yeah, it was cool, man. The A-Team was great. You're bringing back good memories. But they did miss the mark in the movie. Now, the movie was a very good movie. I hope that they make a part 2. I'm just saying they did not go up. Like, by example, Face, who was played by Bradley Cooper in the movie, became the one that came up with the plan and became the leader of the group. Well, no, BS. Hannibal was the leader of the group, period. He was a colonel. They all had to salute him. The colonel comes up with the plan. When the fact that the movie thought it could go off script with that and have Bradley Cooper just because he was the biggest star in the film trump Hannibal for who's going to come up with the plan, for a true fan like me, that's infuriating.
See, I was quite a bit older than you, but I was an A-Team fan too. The crazy guy, who's the crazy guy? What's his name? Murdoch. I thought Murdoch stole the show, and in the remake, I thought Rampage killed it as Mr. T.
He did.
I thought he absolutely killed it.
Everybody did. That should have parlayed Rampage into other roles. Rampage should absolutely be an action hero and star. He's got the charisma, and he went out and proved that he can also act and perform when the cameras are on. How that didn't because that's what the reviews said too. This wasn't just you and I saying that. That's what the reviews actually said. Rampage did steal that show, and he's never been put in a movie again. And I don't know if he got on the wrong side of somebody, if he was hard to work with, or if that has absolutely nothing to do with it. But that was a guy that had a breakthrough moment as B.A. Baraka's his portrayal. He nailed it, and they didn't put him back.
Now, Rampage has a fight against King Mo in Rosemont the end of March. I believe it's his last fight on the Bellator contract. Do you think he goes back to the UFC and fights? Do you think they want him?
It's really hard to say with Page. So, as best I can tell, he's quit training. That's not to say that he has, but as best I can tell, you see him, he's gained some weight. In fact, this fight with King Mo is at heavyweight. He agreed to the fight, but he goes, I'm not going to lose a single pound. He's going about 253. I'd imagine once he trains and gets in shape, he's still not much under 240, if at all. He's just a big guy. And, when you start to lose that discipline with your weight, it's kind of a sign to my original point that you're not training. But by God, when it's time to fight, he will go out there. If it's 15 minutes or it's 25 minutes, he's going to fight every bit of them, and he's got that power, and he believes in himself. I thought King Mo beat him the first time. I thought very clearly King Mo beat him. And when Rampage agrees and King Mo, when the two fighters believe that other guy won, then the other guy won. We saw that this weekend with Brunson and Anderson. Anderson believed he had lost that fight. Brunson had believed he won that fight. And the judges came with a different decision. And the guy that was most surprised wasn't Brunson. It was Anderson. And, speaking of that Anderson fight, Joel, in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, Anderson was going to retire. He was ready to retire. He set it up 3 different times to deliver the next line of, and this was my last fight, and retire. His body language said it. That interview drove on, and every time he started to get away from it, Joe would jump in with a new question. When Joe set him with a new question, Anderson would answer it and then start to bring it back to, this is my last time. And somewhere he just decided in that interview, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say these words, and I'm going to fight again. But that was a very interesting moment where I was just sitting by my TV going, well, many of us projected this would be his last fight either way. When you grab a win that you didn't think you were going to have, now you've got your opportunity to go out on top, which likely isn't to come back to you again. Yeah, this is the time to go. I thought he was going to do it. He didn't.
I didn't. That wasn't my takeaway from it. My takeaway from it is he's trying to speak English. He had a certain thing that he was going to say, and that was, I can't compete with the younger, bigger, stronger guys. I thought he was doing that as a work to, look at me, I just won. His whole point is, I love fighting. Fighting's what I do. I watch almost all the fights with Ladd, and I think about, man, how cool, both his kids, walked him to the cage. And, man, I just look at that, and I'm like, man, that is really, really cool.
Those kids are men now.
You're right. You're right.
One's 18, one's 19. To watch those guys grow up, I didn't recognize them. I've known his kids for a number of years. I haven't seen them in a number of years. I did not I even thought to myself, who are these guys? Turned out those little boys that he used to have with him are now grown men. Well, and they're in this sport. Hey, it's not going to be long till we see them in a competition of some sort. I've seen training footage of the older one, not the one that's a year younger. He's got skills. He's been in the room. He's been in the room for a significant period of time. I think that stuff's fun. Look, guys, there's a lot of change and uncertainty in the country right now when it comes to your retirement portfolio and life savings. You don't want it all sitting in the stock market. You want to diversify it. Do what I do and look into richuncles.com. Rich Uncles is a real estate investment trust. They own commercial properties. They collect rent from the best credit-worthy tenants, and they pay you a monthly dividend currently at 7% annualized dividend. Rich Uncles is ideal for IRAs, and it's a great way to diversify your investment portfolio and add a steady income. richuncles.com was recently featured in the Wall Street Journal. You can see the article and all the information you need to make an informed decision at richuncles.com. Guys, like any investment, this has risks and it's not guaranteed. Rich Uncles is a Reg A Tier 2 offering. Go to richuncles.com. That's richuncles.com, or get information by calling and speaking to them. 855-RICH-UNCLES. Let Rich Uncles know you heard about them from this podcast. You're welcome.
Rich Uncles REIT is seeking indications of interest concerning its Reg A Tier 2 securities offering. Any indication of interest involves no obligation or commitment of any kind. No money or other consideration is being solicited, and if sent in response, will not be accepted. No sales will be made or commitments to purchase accepted until the offering statement is qualified. This media outlet is being paid under $2,000 by Rich Uncles for this single message.
So you mentioned Miss B. I've got another question for you. Can I ask it?
Go ahead.
Miss H. Was Miss H the original Miss? Then it became Miss Claude,
yeah,
Miss B,
man. So
everybody.
Here's the deal.
Because I like it. I always have.
I'll remind you of this. You were married to Jennifer for 10 years, and either I'm the one that cracked this code. I think I saw her checkbook. I think that's what it was. And it doesn't say Supernaut at the top. It says Harmon.
It was her answering. It was her voicemail.
And I'm the one that came to you and go, hey, she didn't take your last name. And you're like, yes, she did. We've been married for 10 years. Of course she did. I said, no, she didn't. I just saw the checkbook or whatever it was. I said, no, she didn't. She stuck with Harmon. And the real point of this story isn't that she kept her name and didn't take yours, though that's interesting. The real point here is that you were married to her for a decade and you didn't know.
Yeah, I should have never had that piece anyway. That was way out of my league. But so she was the first one. She was Miss H. Then everybody became Miss. I've always thought about that. But to tell you a Miss H story, and with Ladd, so that's a tough nut to crack. Oh, Miss H. So to get Ladd to go to your fight, we had to beg, borrow, and steal. Miss H didn't want Ladd to go with somebody else. Scott Davenport took him. But we also said, okay, you had to miss one day of school. This is going to be the last time we ask for the rest of the year. So she granted that. Well, me and Ryan and Jake are driving to San Jose.
Ryan, Jake, and I.
The six of us are driving to San Jose, and I'm like, man, this would be great. Ladd misses one day of school. We go down there. It's a great trip. And Miss H said no. She said, nope, you guys already said you weren't gonna play this card anymore. This is the last one, and she's sticking to her guns. So, Miss H, good for you for sticking to your guns. Ladd's cool too, and we don't get to go together.
All right, boom. In the world of who cares, that was a terrible story. Thank you for sharing it, Joel. Now, John Piermarini joins us. John, what's happening, buddy?
Yep. What's going on, Chael?
Well, you're the wrestling insider, man. You used to write for the WWE. I want to get your opinion on something. Raw was out in Portland a week ago, and I was able to go. And there was one interesting a moment there for me, which was Kevin Owens gets booked against Golberg. They're going to go wrestle for Owens' championship prior to a pay-per-view. How would you do this booking? Because in a normal circumstance, I would assume that this would just be a screwball finish. Goldberg goes over, but Owens retains his title. When WrestleMania is coming up and you've got Goldberg versus Brock, you want to put everything on it that you can, so why not put up a strap and put it around Goldberg's waist? What is your prediction?
Oh, I mean, Goldberg squashes him. That title should have never been on Kevin Owens.
Yeah, Hey, I appreciate your candidness on this, and I fully agree. But, I mean, look, he could still squash him, but then there's interference, there's a count out, the referee's I mean, there's all sorts of things they can do. It's not having Goldberg's lead with the belt so that he can come into WrestleMania with the belt, correct?
Yeah, I don't think that it's necessarily needed for Goldberg and Brock, but I don't know that. I mean, who's Kevin Owens going to wrestle at Mania? Jericho? That's not a WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. I think that they're going to put the strap on Goldberg. I can't see how you can have Kevin Owens do anything more than what Brock was able to do, because then you take away from Brock by doing that. So I mean, it's got to just be. It could be like a screwball finish, but I mean, he's going to destroy him.
Yeah,
you have to.
And why do why even book the match if you're going to have a screwy finish? Why even do that? You know, and you can't have Goldberg go out and squash Brock, lead people into WrestleMania thinking, well, he might squash him again. We all think this is the retribution, but you never know, it's wrestling. He might squash me, and have him have a close match with Kevin Owens. So yes, to your point, he has to squash Kevin Owens. What I'm asking is, does he leave with the belt?
100%.
Okay, then let's go back to what happened at Elimination Chamber. Bray Wyatt leaves with the championship over the weekend. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. Now, Bray Wyatt is the greatest creation in the history of wrestling. I really believe that. Without exaggeration, I think he is the single greatest character in the history of professional wrestling. But to have him take...
You should, because I told you that, and if I tell you something, then you should know.
Okay, you know what? In fairness, you are the one that brought that to my attention, but you are right. To have him take the belt off of Cena after Cena just got it, I thought it was a surprise. I like surprises. I mean this in a good way, but I was surprised. Were you?
I wasn't surprised because I tend to kind of keep up with some of the inside information. So surprised to know that they were going to do that, yes. But I wasn't surprised at the moment. I don't quite understand why you take the title off AJ Styles to give it to Cena just to have it for a month. I think that weakens John. I mean, unless they were trying to get to that 16-time championship, but they've had years to do that. So, yeah, surprising. I'm surprised they put it on him. I hope he holds it past WrestleMania. I mean, he's definitely deserving to be holding that title. I hope it's not just a quick transition to Randy Orton, but something tells me that's probably what's going to happen.
Now, is being a 16-time champion the honor that they try to make it out to be? Because what it really means is you also lost it 15 times. Is that really the honor? And I know that tied Ric Flair's record, but again, to the point, that just means he lost it 15 times.
I mean, if you're a total mark, it means something, but who really cares? I mean, even if the whole, you lost it 15 times, it's scripted. Who cares?
Sure.
Someone said, put the title on Flair. Then someone said, put the title on Luger. Then someone said, it's not working. Put it on Flair. What honor is there in that? Who cares?
Yeah, I got you. Well, I see a little bit of honor just with the backstage politics. I mean, that's really where it goes. That's where those matches are won and lost. Who can puff up backstage the most, get the ear of the booker and the promoter. So I do. I mean, there is a legitimate game going on. But to your point, yes, what we see on camera, not a straight competition.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they put it on you 16 times means they believed in you 16 times. Great. The fact that you need to have your guy, John Cena, hold it just as many times as Ric Flair, I mean, I don't know that really means anything. It's going to mean something to somebody who, if you're really believing in what they're doing, then sure. But, I mean, how prestigious was that title reign, the 16th title reign for John Cena? Not very. I mean, I don't really keep up with the product that much anymore, but I can tell you that he held it for, 3 weeks? Less than that, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not prestigious to me.
Okay, so let me ask you this when we come to Bray Wyatt. That character is an absolute hit. Could Bray Wyatt, could the athlete, the human being, could he be as over as he is in the WWE? Is he that good of a worker and is that good of a talent, or did he need this specific character?
Oh, I mean, he needed the character for sure. When I was there, we brought him up, and Vince's bright idea was to call him Husky Harris. It didn't work. He, on his own, came up with Bray Wyatt, and as you can see, it's a world of difference. You're talking about a character that would be probably doing interviews with you right now compared to the guy that's the WWE champion, just based on the gimmick that he created for himself. So, yeah, I mean, I think he would have been big anywhere. I think a lot of what he does, I think, if anything, the WWE booking hurts what Bray Wyatt is capable of doing with that character.
Wow, and he's got a lineage too. So his father was IRS, which stands for Irvin R. Jobber, and he's got a brother in there who's Bo Dallas. So he's got hey, what's that like? Let me ask you this: what's it like behind the scenes? You've got two brothers. One of them is the greatest character ever created, and one of them is Bo Dallas. Is it weird? Is it weird behind the scenes? I mean, does Bray ever come to the table and go, look, I'll re-sign. I'm good with everything. My brother needs a little bit of a push. What's that like? I would imagine when you've got Bray, you're a little bit scared to cut Bo I mean, what's that like? Do they look out for one another in the back, or is it just every man for himself?
I mean, it depends. If I don't think Bray is at the level that, a Cena would be if Cena came up and said, I think you should give Bo Dallas a shot and I want to work a program with him. He would be handed that. I think if Bray Wyatt goes and says that, I think that they look out for him. But I don't think that they're going to do him any favors as far as like giving him a push. Look, I hate to talk bad about a person, but like I'm just talking about the character that I see on television. Bo Dallas, there's no reason to have him on the roster. As a person, I don't think that. I don't want to see him, the guy, get fired. But it'd just be like keep him here, and he's getting a paycheck and he's making a living, and there's nothing really anyone can complain about as far as that goes. But if I'm Bo Dallas, I'm going to my brother and I'm saying, man, give me something. You've got to have something else in that brain.
Yeah,
give it to me because you're good.
And listen, isn't that up to Bo though? I mean, doesn't Bo need to come in and go, guys, the character isn't working. I'm not getting over here. Here's an idea, and here's how I could change things. I mean, isn't that his job to do instead of just going with the flow and hoping things work out?
Yeah, but here's what people don't understand. I mean, when I was there, I could tell you there was probably 10 guys that I worked with and saying, let's come up with something for you. That they just, when we would pitch it, the idea would either be like, nah, or they would just say, that's too good for that person. There was times when I would work with Goldust on reinventing his character, John Morrison, going back to the whole WrestleMania 26 storyline with Randy Orton and Legacy. I mean, we had a lot of stuff planned for that literally the feedback I got, I was in charge of that story for that match. And the feedback I got was, that's too good for that match. So you can't really give an answer. He could go to them and say, I got this idea to do this amazing character. And they might go, we don't want you to have that. I mean, once Vince has an idea in his head of how he pictures somebody, it's difficult to change his mind, even if it's with a character. What he might have to do is, if he had the idea, was say, send me down to NXT and let me try this. And if it doesn't work, then send me home. And then that way, Bo Dallas becomes Triple H's problem. And then if it works, he'll take it, but he's not going to put any effort into it.
All right, I got you. So let me ask you this a different way to go back to the fact that Bray Wyatt's a huge star and his brother's on the roster. Wouldn't there be some push and pull before they released Bo Dallas? I mean, would they worry what Bray was going to do? Is Bo's livelihood protected a little bit when his brother is Bray Wyatt?
Yeah, but you're asking like black and white, and you can't say that for every. Yes, maybe. I mean, it depends. What level do they want to keep Bray Wyatt happy? Just because he's WWE champion doesn't mean that he's got the clout, the most clout in the company. This isn't back in the day with Hulk Hogan and Flair and Savage and those types of people where you had the belt. I mean, you could hold the company over the ledge because they didn't want you to leave, because you could go and take your title, or you can jump to another territory. Nowadays, it's not really like that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's hard to give like a solid answer. The real questions you should be asking right now, Chael, is why isn't Rusev a main event competitor?
Well, I actually know the backstory on that, but here, without sharing, because I know you know it too, without sharing that story, why is Rusev not a main event competitor?
So you want me to say it?
Well, I don't know if either one. No. I mean, yes, feel free to. I don't know if either one of us should touch it. But, yeah, I hear what you're saying there. I mean, he's a young guy. He was over as can be. He's still over. He still gets a big pop. I mean, they went back to what Nikita Koloff used to do with the Russian angle and the invasion. It was brilliant. They brought something out that had worked before. They did it at the right time. And he was over. And, I mean, talk about a guy that they start and stopped. They just stopped him, and I was confused as to why. So would you like to share anything?
No, I'm not trying to get in trouble, but let's just say that some people like some people, and when people don't like them back, then And some people have to suffer the consequences for it.
Yeah,
and I don't even know if that's a fact. I mean,
it's a fact.
I'm not there.
I do know.
Okay,
I do know as a fact, but I'll tell you this, John. There's still got to be a moratorium on that, right? You don't punish a guy forever. If the crowd is saying that this is a guy and all of your analysts and your projections in your company that really does need a star, now they have turned things around. I can look at the Royal Rumble. 52,000 people came out for that. I mean, business is good right now, but if you got a star and he's got a long shelf life, and Rusev has another decade on a downside, he's got 10 years. Yeah, man, you can't just shelf those guys, in my opinion. And don't forget, there's also a business side here. This is a publicly traded company. Okay, your shareholders and your fans are one and the same. If they're telling you we want something that's good for business, I think you got to do it.
I think WWE is the one company in the history of publicly traded companies that tell you what you should want and don't care about what you're telling them that they should do. Look, have you ever held a grudge before?
Sure.
Okay. I mean, how easy is that to, after a certain amount of time, say, okay, I'm over it? In some cases you are. In other cases, you're going to hold that grudge forever. I don't know. I mean, again, like, it's hard to give an answer to something that I'm not a part of, but I don't know, man. I think that they're slowly kind of getting him back in there, but it seems like they're just kind of turning him into more of a comedic character, which he's actually doing really well at. But like, one thing I hate in wrestling is comedy. So while I think he's doing a good job with it, I mean, they're dropping the ball. To be perfectly honest, Rusev should be in Kevin Owens' position right now.
Sure.
And I think it would work a lot better. I know that he gets a big pop, Kevin Owens and all that, but like, I mean, come on. I can't imagine. I don't care what the internet says. I can't imagine Kevin Owens is selling out arenas.
And yeah,
for the casual fan.
I don't get the Kevin Owens things. I'll tell you another one I don't get, and this is contrary to popular belief. I mean, I think very highly of Jim Cornette, and this would be in direct disagreement with him, but I don't get the Samoa Joe thing. I never have. I never will. And as much as they want to tell you he's over and he's bringing fans to his feet, I was in Portland when he came out, and it's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, they're booking too much for the internet right now. We're like a casual fan. Here's the problem is they're bringing guys in and putting them on top immediately. It's like, let the casual fan start to know who these guys are, start making me want to care. You just throw them right in to like, boom, Roman Reigns, top guy. It's like, no one knows who he is. I mean, the people that like read the dirt sheets and then go on the internet sites and all that, like they're going to argue with you and say, oh, he's a star. He might be a star, but you need to build a star like you do with introducing a new character on a television show, how you did back in the day. You bring a guy in and you build him, and then people will start to care. But you just throw him in there. No one cares about him versus Roman Reigns right now. Look, I've never been a huge Samoa Joe guy. I can get it, though. I get it. But it's like, here's one thing he needs to do is don't post Instagram videos of you hitting mitts when you walk around and your character is that you're like this badass, because that immediately takes all of that away.
Yeah, you had made a comment a minute ago that you do not like comedy in wrestling. I agree with you, but not as an absolute. By example, The Miz. The Miz is comedy. I've never bought The Miz as a badass. I'm never going to buy The Miz as a badass, but I do love him as a character and a talent. Would you give an exception? Yeah, absolutely. You were behind that. But will you agree with me on that one? The Miz, he does have those boyish good looks. He is funnier than hell. When the hand goes up, your mouth goes shut. That stuff's great, and he delivers it well. You don't agree that that's funny?
That's not comedy. I feel like a lot of what you do, then people, like in that mindset, what you do in your promos are comedy. And I don't think what you do is comedy. I think it makes people laugh. But I don't necessarily think that it's ha-ha. I think it's more clever. I think I always envisioned Miz as like the bully in high school that just was a bully because no one ever stepped up to him when he would say something. And I think that what's great about him is that when people step up, you get that like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Like I watched Elimination Chamber, and when he saw like the brutal moves that, who was? I think Baron Corbin was doing to somebody, and like the look on his face, like that's not comedy to me. I mean, I get it; it can make someone chuckle, but like to me, that's a guy going like, "Oh shit, what did I get myself into?" I don't think he's comedy at all. But sure, I like a laugh. I just want it to be clever. Like, I think there's a difference between, like, say, what you do or what Miz does compared to, like, what Santino Marella did. And I don't know who's, like, really playing that character now in WWE. But, do you understand what I'm trying to say with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I didn't at first, but I'm starting to get it now. Santino, I get your point. What do you mean? Who's playing that now? What, is Santino not on the roster?
Yeah, I don't think he is. There's always someone that's just like the full-on 100% like bumbling idiot that is like, I'll go out there, I make people laugh, I get my ass kicked, I get paid.
All right,
I don't know who's doing that.
John, let's back up 1 second. And you know, I'm a casual fan, but I come to the table every year for WrestleMania. You know, I mark out a little bit like that, and then I go to the shows when they come to Portland, and they were just here, so this is why this is hot on my mind. But I do not know about help me with his name, Santiago?
Santino Marella.
Santino, thank you. I don't know about Santino being released. You're telling me he's not there anymore? I mean, he got a huge pop. He was over. What am I missing? When did he go bye-bye?
What are you missing about what? Why he's not there?
Yeah.
I mean, thanks. You're done. Bye.
Oh, really? That was it. He didn't fail a drug test. He didn't go get crazy somewhere, miss a flight. He really? I mean, that does surprise me. Again, I'm a good 10 months behind, but I can tell you 10 months ago that guy was about as over as they get, and it was funny. Frankly, that was funny when he'd hit his arm and the hand pops up and he's got the sock gimmick and shoves it there. It was good. I thought it was good TV.
This is where I agree with you. All that is funny. It's just like, you know, you could tell me that. You know, behind the scenes, John Jones is the biggest prankster, and all he does is he pulls out a sock and he does a sock puppet. You know, but it's like when he comes to the ring, he's not doing that. That's fine. If your character wants to do that and that's the character's personality, backstage or when he's doing an interview, it's all jokes and fun and ha-ha with him, great. When he comes to the ring, I need to see a guy compete. Like, that's just me, and maybe I'm in the minority there, but that's just me.
No, I like that.
All that stuff outside the ring.
I like what you're saying. And then, you know, how you do a match is important too. And I like some of those high spots, but it still needs to look like a fight. And when you're out there doing some stuff that would never happen in a fight, I've got a big problem with it. When you know, you're hitting triple back salts and all this stuff, that stuff's just not going to happen. But you look at the adverse of it. You know, I'll go to some small show like we'll have out here in Portland, some regional show, and those guys don't know how to work in there. They can't get their heart rate up. They'll go grab a standing side headlock and hold it for a minute while the crowd is yelling, "This is boring." And the crowd's right. This is boring. You have to do something, but at the same time, you can't do too much. It needs to resemble two guys offering resistance, looking to get a pinfall or a submission on the other guy. It needs to resemble that. And when it doesn't, it's a piss-off for me.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with, like, somewhere in the middle of, like, you know, all the flips and jumps, and I'm cool with all that as long as, like, once you hit that move, like, let's see somebody sell that for a second. Go ahead and, like, hit a second one after. Like, give a chance for us to believe that, like, that had an effect on somebody because it looked amazing. So let me believe that it actually worked. Otherwise, what are you doing it all for?
Yeah,
so I'm cool with it. Like, I like it. I like watching that high flying stuff. But sometimes it's just like you can spread them out. You don't have to go back to back to back to back to back with it.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And at the same time, don't slow it down so much that you're doing a headlock and the whole crowd is yelling boring, and it is. You know, we had something on when Don Owens used to run Portland Wrestling, which was a huge territory back then. I mean, they would grab a wrist, you know, and come under the wrist and hold it. And man, it would be 3 minutes of a guy holding the other guy's wrist and the other guy slapping his own shoulder because of the pain. And there would be no action. It's like, guys, there has to be some level in between here, but it still needs to look like it's competitive.
Yeah, tell that to Jim Cornette. That's your guy.
Yeah, well, and he does speak on that. I think he's a good guy to listen to. Now, I get it that he wouldn't be a great promoter today because he is still stuck in the 70s, but the mindset of, hey, look, whoa, I realize we've released the fourth curtain here, but it still needs to look like two guys are offering resistance. He's spot on with that. It does still need to look real. You can't just come in and piss all over us. Hey, let me switch gears. There's two guys. One of them's like 7 feet tall. One of them is much shorter. He's a blonde-haired guy. They're working like this East Coast gimmick. and the smaller guy comes out, and he works the mic as they walk to the ring. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Yeah, Enzo and Big Kaz.
Okay, so Enzo, do you know this guy in real life? What's he like?
That's the shorter guy, right? No, I don't know him in real life.
All right, yeah, but he's over with me. I mean, he works like this weird ollie shuffle out of nowhere. He stays in character. He kayfabes it from start to finish, and I can tell you, man, and again, this is from being in the crowd. I got exposed to him at the Royal Rumble when he came out, and I thought, wow, there's something here. I don't know what these two are up to. I didn't know their names at that point. I'd never seen them before, but I knew there's something happening here. When they came out to Portland on Monday Night Raw, there was no hotter spot. And as much as people want to say Samoa Joe was the greatest booking and he was over and the crowd was crazy, that is not true. They were over for Enzo coming out and telling the crowd, and you can't beat that. It was a hot moment, but I've seen guys like him come and go, and I want him to stay. I think there's something there. Can you speak on your opinion?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it all just comes down on how they book that, and I think that it's probably not going to work because I think that the mentality of booking at WWE is just repeat everything that we've done before and not try to be innovative in anything that we come up with. So it's going to end up where Big Kaz is going to turn on him, go heel, and then Enzo's going to be by himself, and it's not going to work. And then they're just going to kind of forget about him. He'll play his shtick. It's going to get old. No, I don't. I think as long as they're doing what they're doing, it's going to be great. And I think that what could really be the best for both of them, it would be that somehow you keep them together with Enzo just playing the mouthpiece that can get involved and take bumps and all that. Keep them babyface, and then you can have Kaz be the main event guy who you can see that they're kind of preparing for him to be, but you keep Enzo with him as the quote unquote manager. But I think as soon as you take them away from each other, I think it's pretty much over for Enzo. Not saying he doesn't have the talent. I just know that the way that they're going to book it, and that's the way it's going to be.
Did you watch the Rumble?
I think most of it, yeah.
Did you agree with the finish? Were you surprised? Were you happy that Orton won?
Again, surprised with that decision when I heard about it. Yes. In watching it, I knew it was going to happen. To be honest, I kind of even felt, and this is what I liked about it, was I kind of even felt like when Roman came out as 30, I was like, wow, I mean, they're really just going to stick it down our throat and give it to Roman. So, yeah, I thought that they were going to pull that swerve. With Randy winning it, I don't have a problem, but this was kind of a situation that I was in when I was there where Randy was going to win Money in the Bank, and I was really pushing for Miz to get it, and my whole thing was, what do you gain with Randy Orton winning Money in the Bank? I mean, it's very, very hard in wrestling today to get somebody over, and you have an opportunity, maybe 2 or 3 times a year to do that. One of it being Royal Rumble, and another one being Money in the Bank. And you could put somebody new over in that and really establish someone. And I would always advocate putting somebody like that over. I don't know that Randy Orton needed it. I don't think that you're building to some huge hot WrestleMania main event. And that's that. And Chael, buddy, I've got to run.
I've had it with you anyway. Beat it, John. All right, go get a Casper mattress, guys. It's what I sleep on every night. I come in here with high energy and deliver it to you, but it's largely just because I feel good because I got a good 6 to 8 hour night's sleep. Look, Casper is an obsessively engineered mattress at a shockingly fair price. It combines supportive memory foams and created an award-winning sleep surface with just the right sink and just the right bounce. Guys, they've got over 20,000 reviews and an average of a 4.8 stars, and it's quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. Guys, here's what I want to tell you about it from my own experience, okay? Look, it's free shipping anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. You can try it out for 100 nights. That's over 3 months. Over 3 months, you can have this product, and if for any reason you don't love it, they will pick it up for you, and they will refund you everything. There is no questions asked. It is designed, developed, and assembled in the USA. I love this mattress. I use it all the time. The way it works, it comes to your house in a box, to your doorstep. You take it in the room, you open the box, it opens up, it lets out like a breathing sigh. It is such a great mattress. When I got one, they became sponsors of the show, and before I said, yeah, I'm on board, I got to try the thing out. They said, yeah, that makes sense. We want you to give your personal experience. I took my mattress downstairs to the garage, tried out the Casper. Eventually, I had my mattress hauled away. I have slept and stayed on the Casper. Guys, this is point and click as opposed to mortar and brick, which means you get a wholesale price. It goes from them to you, and the savings gets passed on to you. Go to Casper.com/Chael. Enter the promo code at checkout, Chael. How easy is that? Casper.com/Chael. Check out with the promo code Chael. You will save an additional $50 off. You cannot beat that deal. And if you don't like it, you got 100 days to try it out. Think about this. Most people try to sleep. Most of us fail, but we try to get 8 hours of sleep a night. That is a third of the day, which means it is a third of your life. A third of your life will be spent on a mattress. Get a comfortable one. Take it from me. Go to Casper. Let them deliver it to your door. Try it out for 100 nights. You're going to love it. I guarantee you're going to love it. But if you don't, if for some reason you're not into that, you'd rather have a hard bed that isn't comfortable and durable and made in the USA and specially engineered, if that's your thing, they'll come pick it up for you and give you all your money back. You got 100 days. Go to Casper.com/Chael. Use the promo code Chael. I love talking to John Joel because he used to write for the WWE. He's a fantastic mind. He understands psychology, like you could hear him right there, asking, hey, what do you have to gain when this guy goes over? Why start a guy just to stop a guy? It's the same psychology that carries over. You and I were talking about it yesterday when we were talking about Conor versus Floyd, and we made a very good point, which was to say that is the only fight in boxing that we want to see. It's not just Conor's going to go box somebody or Floyd's going to box somebody. It's those guys very specifically, but there's a psychology there. There's a reason why certain things work and certain things don't. You've got to be a chess player. You've got to be multiple steps ahead when you're trying to guess what the market wants. I think that John gives very good insight into that. And I do think that he's right that Golberg's going to squash Owen and roll into WrestleMania with the belt to take on Lesnar.
You do realize that he came on and said he doesn't follow the product and then knew every single thing about what was going on with the product.
Well, I don't know if he knew how deep I was going to go. I think I went pretty shallow because, in fairness, even though I am a fan, I'm a 2-time-a-year fan. They come to Portland, and they usually come once a year. I'm there. They just came, so now it's my hot button. But WrestleMania is also right around the corner, and I like WrestleMania. So I think that I didn't go as deep as perhaps he was prepared.
Okay, so let me share this with you two idiots. The reason it is important, the reason it means something that Ric Flair won the championship 16 times in two different promotions is Ric Flair came on the show, saved our ass one day, and told us when you had that strap, you used to need to go 60 minutes every night. That's a big deal. It's also a goddamn big deal when somebody is on top of the bill that long to win 16 titles. And guess what, John Piermarini or P. Facini or whatever the hell your name is, we're all goddamn marks. If we watch the show and we know it's fake, we're a mark. So here's what I want you guys to do. The 4 people left, listen to this goddamn show since you came on with the fucking Rolodex this full of all the people that we could have on as a guest, and you picked John P. or whatever the hell his name is. Next time that we have a guest on that's that goddamn bad, I want you to punch me right in the goddamn mouth. And furthermore, I'll say punch me. I will stand up and say punch me in the face. God damn, that was horrible.
I thought that was a great guess.
Jesus Christ, I'm sitting there saying, let's get a hold of Dresser. Let's get a hold of Mitrione. You can get a hold of the guy that just won the Celebrity Apprentice, and you bring a guy on that throws shade on you that if a guy sucked, then he deserved to come on this show. Guess what, Daddy? 500,000 motherfuckers listen to this show 3 times a week.
I think that maybe you feel threatened by John Piermarini.
I give a shit about John Piermarini. Just Jesus Christ. If you're going to come on the show, bring something to the table. Don't start by saying, hey, I don't follow the product, and then know everything about the product. Yeah, buddy, I get it. You had a hot girlfriend. She broke up with you. You act like you don't follow her anymore. We all know you do.
I do not know where this is coming from, and I had a totally different...
Somebody's got to save this goddamn show today.
I had a totally different experience. I thought that was great. I think that John is a very insightful mind, and he does...
The king of the goddamn nerds. That's what your name should be. Chael, the king of the goddamn nerds. Because you love that guy. You're in love with him. Nobody knows who the hell he is. Who is he? I don't know.
What happened in the last 15 minutes while I was talking to John?
I was just sitting there thinking to myself.
Did you get a text message and somebody ruined your day? What's happening right now?
I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is what he sprung on us. This is what the master of charisma threw on us. Was that. Man, this a big show, brother. You got to give somebody something, and that was horseshit.
I have a different takeaway. I thought that John delivered. I thought that he always delivered. I thought that he was well-spoken. He's got a meeting he's got to go into.
So neither one of you guys know why it's important that somebody held the championship 16 times.
Well,
the guy in the business, the mark. God, you guys love saying the word mark. Gimmick, all this stuff. Yeah, we're all marks. We're MMA marks. We watch the sport. Our fans are Joel and Chael or Chael marks. They listen to the show. Who cares? Who cares?
Where did John get on your bad side? I'm just a little confused.
When he came on the show and said if a guy sucked, he should be given interviews to this show. That pissed me off. When he said he doesn't follow a product and then knew everything about a product, that pissed me off. What also pissed me off is we could have had 100 different people on this show that would have got me all twisted.
All right, well, I have a feeling that next week you're going to be hearing from John Piermarini when he hears this fact that you just cut a promo on.
I tell you what, out of all the people that I've thrown shade on, some bad mamma jammas, I give a fook who John Piermarini come knocking at the Godfather's door.
Did you ever look into the bipolar that I talked to you about? They have medications for this.
Baby.
Joel, where are you at? You look like you're calmed back down.
I was never that upset.
Really?
Did it sound like I was?
It sure sounded like you were screaming a minute ago.
Was I screaming?
That's the thing with being friends with somebody that has bipolar. You never know what you're going to get. You know, it keeps things fun and fresh around here. The last thing we want on this show is stability.
That is the last thing we want. Now, listen, Brew Chance has one rumor for me this week.
What's he got?
He says the rumors coming out of Middle Easy is that Michael Bisping's next title defense is versus Anderson, Yoel Romero, or GSP. Now, Dana...
That's not a rumor. It's speculation. If you got 3 guys in there and they're all top guys, come on, a rumor is this is going to happen. But go ahead.
That's it.
Well, no, you said Dana.
Well, Dana already came out and said Romero's next. So, I don't know what kind of rumor that is, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Anderson fight for the title again. I'd love to see GSP against anybody, but you realize GSP's running around San Jose all week with Coker this week.
Is he?
Yeah. Already seen him in 2 or 3 different shots.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Look, I don't know what GSP's going to do. I have heard directly from him that he does want to fight again. I know he's training twice a day, every day, all that stuff. I know he's in shape. He's fit. He's ready to go. And he has said, look, I would come back to fight Bisping. I know if you're Michael Bisping and the way your contract works, boom, you do everything you can to jump on the bill with GSP. So I believe that one has a little bit of traction, but you can't get around the fact that Yoel is the number 1 contender. Yoel has been promised that fight. Yoel signed to do that fight. Bisping ended up pulling out. He got hurt. So, yeah, Yoel's sitting there. I just don't think there's any way to get around it. Even if Bisping's looking at it and going, look, I get that he's the number 1 contender and I get that he's great, but I'm also in here. I'm a prize fighter, and there's just not much of a prize for him unless you want to stick some other supporting cast on the card. I think that we need to have a conversation here. So, and as far as the Anderson thing goes, that's the first I've heard that is when you just said it. And I think that it would do good business. They did give Dan Henderson the opportunity. Anderson is coming off a win, and he did have that weird fight with Bisping the first time. So I think you can sell that in which way you want. But if you want my opinion, and this is strong, like 90%, it's going to be Romero.
Let me tell you this, and we've talked about it over the years, that the one thing that I will do when I'm wrong is I'll admit I'm wrong. After your fight, I told you, you know what, why don't you take a month off? And you got back in that goddamn gym, and you've been straight mugging people. And I am so goddamn proud of you, and I want you to keep it up. When you start playing fuck again, I'm going to punch you right in the face.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I mean, look, that was just the reality of the situation. I've seen other people that have gone through this, and they want to go, crying their beer for a couple of months, and then they've got to spend another couple of months just trying to get back to where they started. I've been out a long time, and the match and the process and all of that is preparation. It's all part of coming back, and if you're not going to be at the gym on Monday, then you don't get to use that. You don't get to say, well, this is all part of the process. If you're at home and you're sitting around and you're doing nothing, I don't get it. It doesn't make any kind of sense. So if you're going to go all in, go all in. And yeah, I went a little crazy after that match, but that's the only way I know to do it. The only way I know to do it is to work harder than you've ever worked before and try again.
Well, to my point, you're mugging people right now. You are flat mugging people, and I love it. Just that is a bully style that works for you, always. Worked for Randy, always. You just keep being a goddamn bully and keep mugging people.
Well, you got to use logic in these situations too. If you go out and you beat the guy that's the best in the world, you get to say that you're the best in the world. If you beat the champion and you become the champion, you get to say I'm the champion. I fought the worst fighter in the company. I fought he's the worst fighter I've ever faced, which now means I am. That's hard, Joel. That's hard to wake up with a loss to the guy that is the worst fighter out there. It's very hard. And, I had to face that realization, and it's like, man, you got two choices. You can go left or you can go right, and I don't know how the story's going to end. All I know is I will work as hard as I possibly can. I'll work harder than I have ever worked before. I will try harder than I've ever tried before, and then I will go out and compete again. And how that story ends, we're all going to have to find out together. But I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, I had, going into that process it was kind of like doing it for the very first time. The second I came out of there, it all came back. The second I came out of there, I was like, oh my God, it was so embarrassing. That was not what I wanted. That was not what I expected. At the same time, boom, everything that I had forgotten, everything that I was missing, every anxiety that I had. Now I remember what it's like when that referee says go.
Well, and another thing is if you're going to fight Silva this time, it's going to be the first time real heat is coming out of you. That's going to be interesting to me.
That's a totally different deal right there. When you're in a personal conflict with somebody that dates back all those years, that's a totally different deal than going into a sporting competition with judges and rules and a 10-point must system. And all. That's a totally different deal. We've got a conflict. We are going to have conflict, and we are going to have immediate resolution. And I will be fighting Vanderlei Silva the first time I see Vanderlei Silva, which could be in San Jose this week. And what else you got? I see you circling something.
Well, this is kind of funny. We can finish this show on this. So it's funny to me anyway. So Connor's punishment for throwing the bottle at UFC 202 was they made him do an anti-bullying video for school children.
All right.
That I could just see Connor saying, "Who in the fook is a bully?"
The commission got involved with that. Did the commission have the right? Do you have the right to? Because they've done that other times, press conferences and things like that. Cormier, John Jones, remember they had that real fight, and the commission got involved. And that's a fair way to do it. Something has to be done. I'm not pushing back on it, but I did think it was surprising. Going, is that within your jurisdiction? What is it here you're sanctioning? Did you license these guys to go do a press conference? How does this fall into your scope? And I've never been clear on the legal argument there. But Connor throwing those bottles was a hot spot. I liked it. Where it went wrong is apparently one of those bottles hit a young man.
No, not bottles. The monster can.
Yeah,
I
want to say like a 9-year-old kid. And that does change things. Something has to be done there. Aside from it hitting that young man, hey, I thought it was pretty interesting. Right? They're throwing bottles at one another. I'm like, well, this is good television. I'll watch that clip.
Yeah, I'd much rather see Connor and Nate fight again than Connor and Mayweather.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest...
I would love to see Conor and Nate, but you're saying you want to see that more than him going to boxing and takes on Mayweather?
Of course, because the most exciting part of that entire match is going to be, us talking about how in the hell they're going to figure out how to do it, how they're going to market it, and we already know how it's going to play out. Conor's never going to touch him. Never. He will never touch him.
Yeah, but stick with Nate. Why do you like that so much? I like
because
it too.
Those guys
like
just beat the living hell out of each other for, 7 rounds.
Generally, when you have one apiece, you do go into the rubber match.
Yeah. Plus, Nate's not going to fight anybody else, it looks like, and I want to see those Diaz brothers get down.
I have got a plane to catch. Joel and I will be doing tomorrow's show from San Jose. Fedor versus Mitrione goes down this weekend. It's live. It's free. It's only on Spike TV. Until tomorrow, I'm Chael Sonnen, and you are welcome.
Baby.
Thanks for listening to You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen. Download new episodes every week at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
Hi, I'm author and director Mick Garris, inviting you to download my new podcast, Postmortem, to hear from the greatest filmmakers and creators of your worst nightmares. Check out new episodes every other Wednesday on podcastone.com, the Podcast One app, or subscribe on iTunes.
Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One, right after this.
AP Update. I'm Diane Kepley. President Trump has renewed his attacks on intelligence agencies after saying this at the White House.
I think it's very, very unfair what's happened to General Flynn, the way he was treated, and the documents and papers that were illegally, I stress that, illegally leaked. Very, very unfair.
The president is back on Twitter this morning saying the spotlight has finally been put on what he calls the low-life leakers, adding they will be caught. He also calls out the New York Times and says they must apologize. Flynn was asked to resign by the president earlier this week, following reports that Flynn had discussed sanctions with Russia's ambassador before the inauguration, and then denied those conversations to Vice President Pence and other top officials. White House officials are saying the president favors Admiral Robert Harwood to become the next national security advisor. Harwood met with top White House officials last week and has the backing of Defense Secretary James Mattis. AP Update. I'm Diane Kepley.